Alright, this video is going to cover Intro to Inequalities. So we're going to start looking at how to solve inequalities, which are similar to equations, but have a little bit of a difference. So the title will be Intro to Inequalities. Make sure you put today's date up in the top corner of your paper. Okay, the first thing we want to review is the inequality symbols. And there are 4 of them. So the first one we'll take a look at is, what is the symbol for less than? So the symbol for less than, when you're writing an inequality statement, it's just that sideways arrow pointing symbol. When you're graphing on a number line, the symbol used for less than is an open circle. As we work through these problems, you'll understand when we use these open circles versus closed circles. So we're going to make a little table here. The next symbol is less than or equal to. So the less than or equal to symbol is the same symbol for less than, except the difference is it has a line underneath it, which indicates that it's equal to the number that you're saying it's less than or equal to. And when you fill these out in a number line, the symbol we use for less than or equal to is a closed dot. Then in comparison, the greater than symbol just looks like that. It's the other direction. And when you're using a number line, you also use an open circle for the greater than. And finally, greater than or equal to. Same symbol with a line underneath it and a closed circle when you use a number line. So when you read statements that have these, you should be able to interpret this as to mean less than or equal to, greater than, or greater than or equal to. And we're going to see some problems in how that works. So let's graph some inequalities with these symbols. Let's say I gave you the graph x greater than -8. If I wanted you to graph that on a number line, you would create your own number line, and you'd put some numbers around -8. Remember, your numbers when you're going from negative go from more negative down to 0. So I'm just going to build around -8, 2 on the left and 2 on the right. So to graph this on an inequality on a number line, I put an open circle for greater than on the value that the number is greater than. So it's greater than -8. And I'm going to shade the direction where it's greater than. So numbers that are greater than -8, we shade to the right, because all of these numbers are bigger than -8. So an inequality is saying, what are the numbers that are bigger than -8? So there are lots of answers that are bigger than -8, so we shade to include all of those answers. So let's label this problem A. Let's look at another example. Let's say I want to graph k is less than or equal to 5. So I'm going to do the same thing where I create a number line. I'm going to put 5 in the middle and then build around it. So 5, 6, 7 to the right, and then 4 and 3 to the left. You want to put your numbers in order from least to greatest when you're using your number line. So because the symbol is less than or equal to, it includes the 5. So 5 is also less than or equal to 5. So I shade in a closed circle on 5. And now I'm going to shade in all the values that are less than 5. So which numbers are less than 5? It's this direction. So I'm shading everything on this side of the number line. Let's look at two more examples. Say I gave you m is less than -3. So I'm going to create my number line, put -3 in the middle, and build around it. Remember, you go putting your numbers in order from least to greatest. Less than -3 means an open circle at -3. And now I have to shade the values that are less than -3. So now remember, this is where it gets tricky. Negative numbers, the more negative it is, the smaller it is. So really the less than numbers here are on to the left. So I'm shading to the left of -3. Those numbers are smaller than -3. And for our last example, we'll do a greater than or equal to 14. So I need to shade in all the numbers that are bigger than or equal to 14. So I'm going to create my number line. Remember, you're putting your numbers in order from least to greatest. When it's greater than or equal to, use the closed dot. And you shade everything that's bigger than 14 on your number line. And that's graphing inequalities. So we know how to use the symbols, how to interpret them, and how to graph them. The last piece with inequalities, or the last two things with inequalities that we'll look at are writing inequalities and then finding solutions to inequalities. So we've got writing inequalities. So for this, let's say I gave you a statement, a number is less than 4. So you're looking for those keywords, less than, greater than, at most, at least. So to create a statement from that, a number less than 4, I'm going to pick any number to represent a number. So I can use x to represent a number. So that's my variable that represents the number. Is less than, so I'm going to use the less than symbol, 4. And then we can create a quick sketch of it on a number line by drawing 4 in the middle. Less than has an open circle. And we're shading all of the numbers that are less than 4. Let's try some more examples. A number is greater than or equal to -18. Let me zoom out for this one. All right, so our keyword here is greater than or equal to. So I'm going to use the greater than or equal to symbol. It says a number, so we want to use a variable to represent any numbers. We can use x again. Is greater than or equal to negative 18. And if we create a quick sketch of that, put negative 18 in the middle, negative 19, negative 20, negative 17, negative 16. We use a closed dot, and we shade everything that's bigger, so that's to the right of negative 18. Okay, one more example with the translating. Actually, two more examples. Just to help you, if you see the words at most, so if you see something is at most 40 or no more than, so if something is at most or no more than, it means the less than or equal to symbol. So if you see at most or no more than, it's the less than or equal to symbol. So if you're no more than 10, you're not going to be bigger than 10. Or if you're at most 40, you're not going to be older than 40. And on the flip side, if you see the words at least, that means greater than. Greater than or equal to. All right, the last thing we'll look at is just testing solutions for inequalities. Let me zoom back up here so we can see all of it. There we go. So for testing solutions, that's going to be saying, let's say I give you an inequality. We'll label this inequality A again. Let's say I say x is bigger than or equal to 5. So I want numbers that are bigger than or equal to 5. And they're asking you to test 10. So if I want to test 10, I plug in 10 into the inequality. Is 10 bigger than or equal to 5? That's a correct answer. That's a yes. So testing solutions means you plug it into the inequality and you see if it makes it a true statement or not. I'll give you an example where one is not a true statement. So let's say I say x is less than or equal to 4, and I want you to test the number 7. If I plug in 7 into my inequality, 7 is less than or equal to 4. That is not a true statement, so that's no. So that's the intro to inequalities. You should be able to graph inequalities, write inequalities, and test solutions by plugging them in and seeing if they make the statement true or not.